Again, as I'm doing historical videos, ideas for videos come up, and I think, you know what? What the hell? The greatest coaches of all time. So I've discussed who I think, good coaches in the NHL are. But let's go by greatest coaches of all time. And I'm gonna include in these numbers their wins, their winning percentage, and their Stanley Cups. And we'll go from there in terms of who the greatest coaches of all time are. At number 10. Now I don't have these organized. I'm just looking at them and I'm going, all right. So we'll start with Ken Hitchcock at number 10. He has 823 career wins, a .603 winning percentage, one Stanley Cup to his name, that was with Dallas, and coached from 1996 to 2018. So there you go, Ken Hitchcock. Straight on my end. Why doesn't it look straight? Anyways. Oh, Shen. You'll never learn to write straight. It's never going to happen. Number 9. And, yeah, I'll put this one at 9. Hap Day I couldn't keep out. Couldn't do it. 259 career wins. 549 save, or 549 save percentage. 549 winning percentage. 5 Stanley Cups. He only coached from 1941 to 1950. Toronto Maple Leafs coach. Part of that dynasty, those 3 Stanley Cups in a row. That'll get him that honor of being number 9 on my list. We'll cross Hap Day out. Number 8. This is a current coach. I'll put Barry Trotz at 8. 762 wins. 564 winning percentage. 1 Stanley Cup. Of course, that's the most recent one. 1999 to 2019. Trotz getting the Washington Capitals to the Stanley Cup is only the icing on the cake. Trotz always had Nashville Predator teams that were often mediocre and getting them into the playoffs. We'll see if he can do that again. If he knew that with the Islanders, he might move up this chart the next time I do a top 10 list like this. Number 7. And again, this gets so tough from here. All right. Glenn Sather is tough. Tough one. 497 career wins, 602 save percentage, 4 Stanley Cups. His coaching resume expands from 1980 to 2004. Sather, very solid coach for an Oilers team, and I get it. There are going to be people who say, well, yeah, Sather's got 4 Stanley Cups, but that's Gretzky's Oilers. Right, and we're going to be having that conversation when we discuss the top 6 guys too. Best teams don't necessarily win. There's coaches with lots of wins that don't win championships. And to get a great team over the hump and make them a champion, I think that's underrated. I think what a coach provides is underrated very often. So I'm going to go ahead and put Sather at number 7 on the list. Number 6. Joel Quenneville. A guy who has 884 career wins as a coach, 610 save percentage, 3 Stanley Cups, 1997, and of course, he's still coaching, so we'll put it till 2019. Quenneville, I was surprised when St. Louis didn't keep him. In Colorado, and with Chicago, he's won 3 Stanley Cups. There were rumors that he might lose his job this summer. So after the season was over. Didn't happen. He has an outside shot at 1,000 wins within the next 3 years. And I say outside shot because if Chicago doesn't make the playoffs this year, he may find himself out of work. But he'll at least get to 900 wins this year, which is pretty impressive. The thing was, I couldn't just look at all-time wins because some of these coaches played during much shorter seasons. Or coached during much shorter seasons and seasons where there weren't overtime wins and shootout wins. So you gotta... This is not an easy list for me to do. Number 5. Yeah, I'll do this. Punch Imlach, Toronto Maple Leafs legend. 402 career wins. 537 winning percentage. 4 Stanley Cups. Coached from 1959 to 1980. When you win Stanley Cups with the Leafs, apparently you end up on the board. And 4 Stanley Cups. Punch was pretty darn good. And I have to say, there were honorable mentions on this list. Tommy Ivan, for me, was an honorable mention. Tortorella kind of is an honorable mention, too. For the fact that wherever he's gone, except Vancouver, he's won. So there are a lot of honorable mentions I could have thrown in there. Pat Burns. Yeah, there are a number that I would look at and say, okay, he should be an honorable mention. Number 4. When I started watching hockey, Al Arbour was the New York Islanders. 110%. 782 career wins. 564 winning percentage. 4 Stanley Cups, all in a row. Started his career in 1971 and it ended in 2008. Al Arbour and those New York Islanders, that was one of the most impressive dynasties in the history of hockey. Of course, in my history videos, I haven't got there yet. But Arbour, fantastic coach. I still remember when the Islanders parted ways with him the first time around, and it was like, what? And then he goes back, but by the time he went back, it was done. Arbour, one of the all-time greats. Absolutely. Number 3, and again, this is where it gets really kind of difficult for me. But I have to go with my gut here. Which tells me that Dick Irvin Sr., who was actually Dick Irvin Jr., and I think Dick Irvin Jr. was Dick Irvin III. 692 wins in his coaching career. 557 winning percentage. 4 Stanley Cups. 1 with Toronto. 3 with the Montreal Canadiens. And he coached from 1929 to 1956, meaning that there are Stanley Cups of his I haven't covered yet in my history series. So Dick Irvin Sr. to me, just an amazing coach. His record was amazing, and when Toronto said, thanks Dick, see you later, he's like, I'm going to Montreal. You're going to regret it. And eventually Toronto did. But they won some Stanley Cups first, so I don't think Toronto was that upset over him going. Pretty happy day, I guess. Bad joke? Too soon? Is it too soon for that? It's only been 68 years? Yeah, it's too soon. Number 2. Toe Blake. 500 career wins. 634 winning percentage before he had 3-point games. 8. Count them. 8 Stanley Cups. The amazing thing with Toe Blake was he had a very successful NHL career. It was shortened by injury, and then he decided to be a coach. And from 1956 to 1968, he got 8 Stanley Cups for it. Pretty fantastic, isn't it? That 634 winning percentage is absolutely amazing. So who in the world could possibly be higher than Toe Blake? Everybody's like, we're way ahead of you on this one, Shannon. We know who's number 1. It has to be Scotty Bowman. 1,244 career wins. 1,244 career wins. That's like, 400 times what LaForge had and Bill LaForge had in Vancouver? Something like that. LaForge is not an honorable mention. 657, 9 Stanley Cups. Coached from 1968 till 2002. And anybody who has issue with Scotty Bowman, remember, Montreal, Pittsburgh, Detroit. He won Stanley Cups in all of them. 9 Stanley Cups altogether. Wait. Okay, there we go. 9 Stanley Cups altogether. 2 for Detroit, 1 for Pittsburgh, 6 in Montreal. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. I don't have the page open, but I remembered. I'm like, all right, remember, it's 5-1 and 3. Then I start rolling, and it's like 6-1 and 2. No, Shannon, no. He retired as a Stanley Cup champion with his 3rd Stanley Cup with Detroit. The Detroit Red Wings were a team that was great and couldn't win. Then they got Scotty Bowman, and they could win. The Pittsburgh Penguins were coming out of Badger Bob passing away, and it was a horrible, horrible incident. Bowman goes behind the bench and gets them to another Stanley Cup. And in Montreal, dynasty. Probably the greatest dynasty of all time. Bowman was the coach. The only place he went and couldn't win, Buffalo. And sadly, Buffalo was a team that it didn't seem like anybody could get them to the promised land. But Bowman did make them a better team while he was there. Just wasn't quite over the top great. All right, there you go. My top 10 all-time, for me, greatest coaches in NHL history. Let me know your picks in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.